no court can even do much to help it. While it lies there, it needs no constitution, no law, and no court to save it. I thank you. I don't think that was loud enough. Contributed to a great, very enlightened examination of this question of detention, lawful and unlawful, through metaphor, poetry, alliteration, and music. Thank you very much. We're all in the prison. That's the metaphor. We're all in the Ugandan prison. How do we reimagine ourselves out? I know you're all dying to get into the meat of PK's presentation. Before that, we've just been joined by our very dear Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Umar. And what I'm going to do, you know that I'm not one to use the observed protocol, but I'm going to break my own protocols. And I'm going to invite Professor Kapumba to say a few words of welcome. And then we'll get back into the beef. This is source. The professor is providing us with source, and then we'll get back into the beef. Thank you very much, Professor.
Many thanks to you, Professor Onyango, distinguished guests, our panelists. My apologies for coming with it. Not that I intended it, but just the competing programs that we have to run around. But it's my pleasure to be here. I want to take the opportunity to recognize the panelists that are here, and also the opportunity to welcome the audience that is attending this. The principal is here, School of Law, and the deputy principal, members of the academic staff, members of civil society, members of the community, the Makerere community, and ladies and gentlemen, and our dear students. A very good afternoon to you all. I want to convey to you greetings from the university management that highly bids for the School of Law in terms of its continued research output, in terms of its contribution to this nation and across, but also in terms of promoting dialogue and engagement that can inform policy and practices, but also the law and legislative framework that is promoting good governance and human rights in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I missed the article from Dr. Busingye, but I can capture, I can figure out, because I know Busingye when it comes to issues of human rights, when it comes to issues of constitutionalism, even when I'm missing, I can try to configure what it is of you. I must say that it's very good to have invited us for this engagement. And I also want to take the opportunity to appreciate this symposium on the reality that Makerere, having reached 100 years of its existence, such a symposium and engagement comes at a very, very, very right time. For many reasons that many of you know that this institution has had to bear, the conditions and situations of its history, that the history that has been punctuated by a number of upheavals and evils, issues that have really captured, taken lives, And a couple of weeks ago, you recall, those of you who are conversant with the 100 years of celebration of Makerere University, 2 weeks ago we had the Frank Kaluzo inaugural public lecture. And many of our young generation were asking, who is Frank Kaluzo? Now we have, for starters, we have just renamed our central teaching facility just next to the College of Humanities or the former faculty of social sciences, Frank Kaluzo. But Frank Kaluzo is the first vice chancellor of the independent university, Makerere as an independent university in 1970. Now, how Frank Kaluzo comes out to blame with the symposium is because his life was taken away, and up to now, we have never seen, his family has never seen his body. People know the body, but not even the grave. So now these issues these are matters that really have serious concern on human rights and also on the theme of this symposium, which deals with accountability for unlawful detentions, challenges, and opportunities. So Makerere's existence is part of the reason we are here today. We are here in South Africa to convene human rights and peace center, HURIPEC, center and department at the School of Law that has given us good or fair representation. We have been, HURIPEC has been our, flag bearer as a university and also as an institution of higher learning in many ways. And again, when you look at the topic of accountability and unlawful detention, again, from the little I have given about Frank Kaluzo, who had a brutal death, after being appointed vice chancellor in 1970 by the then President Oloka. And like I would say, sadly, his life was taken away with the orders of the regime then, on allegations that he was working for Obote, who are now being overthrown and was in exile. So that death marked the first attack on intellectual independence in Makerere here. And that's part of the reason why we recognize Frank. But he stood very, very firm. And the Ndugu Wakana Rukunda, when he was at the symposium last couple of weeks ago, he confessed. Because Ndugu was the student leader, the National Union of Students in Uganda, students of Uganda, NUSU. Now then I think it's equivalent to the Uganda Students Union there. But NUSU was very, very vibrant, reaching out to many secondary schools. But Ndugu was giving a testimony. The fact that he was called when he received information, President Amin wanted some of his notorious students who are leading strikes and so on. And then he wanted a list from the vice chancellor. And of course, what they did was what Kaluzo did was to call Uganda and his team and say, just be careful. Receiving this information and required to give information to government and the president himself. And even Frank Kaluzo was called to State House. He presented a list, but he made sure that the list he presented was the list of the previous leaders of NUSU, and some of whom had actually left the country to join the liberation in Tanzania, mobilized to fight the regime. Yeah. So that's how the Ugandas and many others survived. Of course, in a few weeks, each one of them had to find their way out of the country. So those issues really bring very, very strong memories to us as an institution, but also to the country. And you realize that these cases continue. Many of them, our history is punctuated by many cases, including our justice. That's again, those are the cases. So as I said, as we remember, all of these Ugandans and nationals who have had to pay the highest price, okay, at the upfront of the human rights and the unlawful practices that have really affected our country. It's important that we appreciate this symposium so that we can be able to reflect, but also advise those that belong to the current generations to appreciate the importance of engaging on issues of human rights and on issues of accountability. As an academia, especially universities, we have a role to play in human rights protection, such as on this crucial issue of this we are discussing today. And universities, we do this in two major ways. One of the ways is through human rights education, which HURIPEC is doing at the School of Law, but also the other way, when we do the teaching and education on issues of human rights, we also, as universities, we have every reason to support human rights because it is the basis for the autonomy, but also for the development of our institutions and the development of our country. We cannot guard or protect the country's sovereignty outside the shadows of human rights. Because once there are violations and all those things, we are seeking to restore these international protocols. So you somehow indirectly be calling in those interventions as we normally see them. They will claim the world community, what you know as the world community will come in. They will get the opportunity to come in. Like they have done many times in many countries, Libya, Afghanistan, many other countries, because this is a direct invitation for such interventions that may affect our sovereignty as a nation. So we all know the value attached to academic opinions, and we in Makerere, the leadership of Makerere, we support that, we promote that engagement because the university provides that platform for opinion, and engagement at different levels. So in fact, academic freedom and autonomy is offered protection at higher institutions, and Makerere, we are no exception to that. And of course, this also contributes strongly to our ranking and how the university is also seen in the eyes of international organizations and agencies, which makes us to be competitive. I commend the School of Law in this particular, but also the Human Rights Center for continuing to support the teaching of human rights, law at Makerere University. Ladies and gentlemen, the symposium today is a form of human rights education. As I've said, that's one of the reasons why we commend this engagement. But it also entails continuous process of providing research platforms to interrogate many other emerging issues from time to time. I am happy to see a cross-section of participants in this audience from the different political divide, but also different shades of opinion. Some of them, their opinions are very, very much known. And I am happy also to note that when you have this engagement, I believe that the work of promoting and protecting human rights and understanding and the wide range of activities that affect our development as a nation, but also our involvement and the growth of this institution are very, very much promoted. The second reason why this is important, apart from the human rights education, is that universities are involved in research. The academia holds privileged position because academic institutions have the responsibility for developing new knowledge, innovations and new technology, for educating the next generation of policy and service providers, but also providing objective evidence and reviews of current governmental policy. Because as Makerere strives to become a leading institution of excellence on the continent in terms of research, we also earmark as part of our key strategic pillars, we earmark as a university to become a research-led university. Now that research-led university simply means that the forward and backward linkages in what you do is informed by research. What you train, the products that you turn out in the public, the curricula, the programs that you use to train them, They are continuously revised, again, benchmarking from research. Research informs what you train. The emerging areas of knowledge, the emerging needs of the industry and the community are embedded in the curricula, and the curricula is updated and upgraded from time to time. Again, that's a process of research that informs the teaching and learning. But also in terms of backward, the decisions that are made by the country, the decisions that are made by the country in terms of policies and practices are also informed by research. So the university has a duty, and Makerere has set out that as a goal, to continue contributing practices, services, technologies, innovations, policies through policy briefs, and education engagements like these, which have been founded on research, so that whatever practices comes up is informed on the basis of improvement and continuous improvement to make what we do better than what we are doing right now. So that is the second area where this symposium becomes important, because the presentations here are based on research. As I conclude my remarks, ladies and gentlemen, our strategic focus as a university wants that empirical evidence, so that decisions and policies are informed by decisions and empirical data, which I'm sure the symposium should be able to disseminate from the research that have been conducted. And while we may read a lot in the media about unlawful detentions and such that happen, as academia, our role is to provide a platform to produce knowledge and guide the relevant detail bearers. We believe that this symposium, ladies and gentlemen, will provide further academic exercise, but also further debates, further engagement, through which the university will continue to fulfill its public role in social development for our nation. So once again, finally, Professor Onyango, Dr. Zahara, the principal here, Professor Ambassador, Dr. Naruwaiko, and the entire team, the academia, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you. Want to continue, I want to give you assurance that we shall continue to support your endeavors in many ways, because you bring the community to the university, but you also, in another way, us through these engagements, you help to take the university away from the ivory tower. So you take the university to the take the gowns to town. That's the you help us to take the gowns to town. Those universities are associated with those robes and gowns. So if you can take them to town, and then you have some common engagement, then it gives us very, very good understanding. So one, thank you so much for this, and all our panelists and those that have actually to engage with this. Yeah, so for this, I want to wish you successful engagement, further engagement. The program is still continuing. I will apologize. I'll be with you for some time to hear the next speaker. But again, because of other competing, when you don't see me, it's not a sign that I will be running away from this because I'm displeased. I just feel I'm the way to attend to other important work. But in the meantime, I beg to stop here, and I wish you successful engagement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Professor Kumar, Deputy Vice Chancellor. You heard his advice, taking the gowns to town. Just hoping, because last night I saw on TV, there were people who wanted to take watermelon, matoke, and pineapples to Dr. Kiiza University. And they were abducted along the way. So let's hope that abduction doesn't happen to our friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin our panel discussion. Everybody is introduced. I'm very happy to say that we have 3 out of 4 of our panelists. I also see some of our colleagues in uniform. Are you representing the FPSL or you are here in your personal capacity? I know, but I'm just asking if it's here to represent the Brigadier General, or is the Brigadier General missing in action? All right, without much further ado, I'd like to call upon the Honorable Winnie Kiiza, former leader of the opposition, current political activist, and great Ugandan citizen. Thank you, please come on.
Entire leadership of Makerere University, most especially the law school and HURIPEC in particular, for giving me this opportunity to come here and share with you during this symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been introduced. I may not go into details again of who I am. We have lived here together. We have worked together. We have fought together. We have, in fact, done it together. The struggle to liberate our country. As I start my sharing, I just would like to re-echo the first stanza of our national anthem. Just in word, without inviting you to rise. It simply goes, "O Uganda, may God uphold you. We lay our future in thy hands. United for liberty, united together for liberty and freedom." I just would like to ask, if we were really in liberty and in freedom, would we be coming here to discuss unlawful detentions of the Ugandans? The answer will simply be no. What would be the real essence of the rule of law? The rule of law underpins the idea that any society to develop, the law must reign supreme, and therefore there must be laws. And for us as a country, I do believe that we have the laws. There is the Constitution, and Dr. Busingye was speaking eloquently about the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda with all the provisions that they are in. Actually, Article 1 of the Constitution gives us Ugandans the power to elect our leaders, the power to determine the means in which we must be led, the power to do whatever we want to do as Ugandans. And then the same article says, after we have been given this power to elect our leaders and elect our representatives, mandates the president of this great country to ensure that he promotes the welfare of the citizens. Dr. Busingye talked about Article 23, read it together with 24, continue with 28 of our Constitution. They will speak eloquently about the liberties, the freedoms that you must enjoy as a Ugandan. And therefore, everyone is expected under the rule of law to follow the law. But the law must be fair. The law must be just. And the law must be for all of us to follow. If there is equality before the law, then there is no president, there is no jailer, there is no jail. The law must be for all of us. In the current situation, there is a Mr. Prof who has said to be about the law. And when the above commands the law, then we find the rule by law, not the rule of law in our country. Rule of law believes in the separation of powers, that the legislature will be separate and independent from the judiciary and therefore from the executive. When President Museveni took power 36 years ago, he said that his was not just a mere change of guards, but a fundamental change. Many of us here, as we think of putting on the gowns to take them to the city, we keep asking ourselves, is this the fundamental change that we waited for as Ugandans? And then I go back to Brig work that it was better while we waited. We keep thinking that possibly the fundamental change is still coming to happen. And if I may put the words of Martin Nyomola into the current situation of Uganda, I'll just say first, they came for politicians. And everybody thought that was all also of the politicians. We are least concerned. Second was the students' movements. Parents saying we send our children to go and study, we did not send them to demonstrate. Then it was members of the civil society organizations. And we saw the closure of civil society organizations and some actors in civil society arrested, some of whom have been forced to leave the country. Then we saw writers and media personalities. We see the Kakwenzas, the Stellanyanzis, and other media practitioners suffering because of the laws of the land that have said ruled by the law. As if that was not enough, they then came for cultural institutions. I'm alive to what happened in the Rwenzori cultural institution of Busingye, where hundreds of Ugandans were merciless. They brought their lives, killed and unlawfully detained because rule of law would compel that there is fair trial, there is speedy trial, there is access to justice. How on earth would people spend 6 years in prison and hide? Rule of law believes that judiciary will be independent of any manipulation. What do we see? Our brothers, Sylvia and Alan Sewayana, have been denied bail. They can't breathe because judiciary is not independent. You have seen the Black Mambas. You saw how Parliament was attacked. No freedom even in Parliament. Yes, the legislature may be compelled to do laws that are not just. And St. Augustine said that any law that is not just is not law. We see the coming into force of the Public Order Management Act. The Public Order Management Act was simply to reinforce the fact that those opposed to the regime must be dealt with it one way or the other. That is why we see now the emergence of unlawful detentions, many of the political opponents of the regime being arrested at will, and nobody needs to question. They then came for the culture, the religious institutions, and ordered the religious leaders to keep off politics because that was not their trade. Others said, well, why are religious leaders also talking about politics? But they have not stopped. They have also come for the teachers' movement. And many of them I know will be detained. You will see some of them losing lives. And this is the country that we are in. The question is, are we still being ruled by law? Or we are under the rule of law? I want to thank HURIPEC for causing this discussion to happen, because elsewhere it can't happen. And if it doesn't happen at the School of Law of this great university, Makerere University, where else would it have taken place? Friends, it's our time to stand up and defend our own liberties, our own country, our own rights, because they are provided for by law. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for what is provided for in the supreme law of the land, the Constitution. And so when you rise up to demonstrate, it's your right that is given to you by the Constitution. If you ask the president to provide the basics of life, Article 99, Clause 3, gives him that liberty to take care of us. So when Dr. Busingye rises up to demonstrate, calling for interventions in terms of providing the basics of life for Ugandans and is arrested, that is unlawful. It's just calling and reminding the president to take charge of the responsibility that is given to him by the Constitution. When the Bobby Wines and the other politicians raise up to say enough is enough, let us demand for accountability from our leaders. Everyone with power under the law is supposed to be held accountable. So those who think will do injustice to Ugandans with impunity should know that the law is there. And therefore, I would like to use this opportunity to call upon us. Let's not sit back and think the situation will change. The opportunity we have is that we have people like you, the school, the land, who understand and read the Constitution, who know the laws that are supposed to guide and protect the citizenry. Raise up and defend the country. Raise up and challenge the status quo. We depend on you, and we know you can. And yes, you can challenge the status by ensuring that the right people are put in right positions and therefore follow the dictates of the law to do what is required of them as into their rights. That is why those who think are not prisoners, they are already prisoners of conscience, and this is unlawful. That's why I want to agree with Dr. Busingye that Mr. Jailer is equally genuine. Some of our brothers and sisters who believe they are the ones now who are perpetrating these injustices don't know that they are being unfair to themselves as well, because deep down in their hearts, they know they are not doing the right things. They know the law. They want to follow the law, but they are captives of their own government. They are held captives of their own conscience. So we like to invite ourselves to set ourselves free from the chains that are holding us back, and we challenge the status. And I know it can happen. I know you have the power. We only lack the will. If we can't have the will, then we shall be in position to challenge the status. And I know someday Uganda will be a free country where we shall all enjoy our rights and privileges and be able to hold persons individually accountable for the message that they have put us in. I want to thank you, and may God bless us as we continue with the struggle of liberating ourselves and liberating our country for God and my country.
Sorry. So thank you, Honorable Winnie Kiiza, for thank you very much. The rule, not of the law, but the rule by law. Fundamental change, I have not heard that phrase for a long time. In fact, I thought that the motto of the NRM had become no change. I'd like to invite our director, Dr. Zahara Nampewo, please make her remarks. I don't think she needs much introduction. She is here on the faculty and has been for some time. Thank you.
Deputy Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, Professor Oloka, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany, academia, civil society, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our students, I promised to roll call them. I can see you all here. Good afternoon. We have been talking about prices of diesel for the first time in years being higher than petrol. I have never seen it. Diesel costs more. Just a few weeks ago, women leaders, political leaders were arrested for putting up resistance and communicating about the high commodity prices. But as Ugandans, we have a tendency to normalize things. Now it's diesel and petrol and the price of tomatoes and sugar. But I must say that these are all connected to the issue of unlawful detentions. All of these things are connected. You dare go and speak about something, within minutes, you're going to be picked up and unlawfully detained. When I circulated the flyer for this symposium, some colleagues said, we are coming to talk about unlawful detentions. Will we be free from unlawful detention after attending? I said, I can't guarantee it, but please look up. In February 2018, people in civilian clothes arrested New Vision journalist Charles Etukuri, and they never handed him over to police until he was released 6 days later after illegal detention. Etukuri is not alone. He's one of many, even here in this room, potential persons to be unlawfully detained. We have a presidential public acknowledgement of this issue of unlawful detentions. On February 13, 2021, during the presidential address, General Yoweri Museveni, President of Uganda, informed the country that security agencies had been arresting suspected criminals to avert terrorism and lawlessness in the country. These are catchwords. Terrorism, what does it mean? And lawlessness. And that the Special Forces Command had arrested 76 people in Kampala. CMI had arrested 242 suspects. And that out of the 242, 177 had been granted bail, and 65 were still under investigation. This is a public presidential acknowledgement of this happening that we are talking about today, that yes, it happens, and security agencies are involved. The president then emphasized that this talk of disappearances and detentions should be ignored because it can't happen under the NRM. We never cover up. There is nothing which we do and hide. The DPC mentioned as academic institutions our role in research. I know that part of the discussion this afternoon will focus on the report, the 2022 report on the issue of unlawful detentions by the Human Rights Watch. But as the Human Rights and Peace Center, we also undertook a study in 2019. We did a documentation of the Chisanja Hakuna Mchezo. I don't know whether you remember that Chisanja, 2016-2021. In that Chisanja, the president said, this time no joking, this is Chisanja hakuna mchezo. And we documented a number of civil and political rights violations. Part of what we looked at was the unlawful detentions. And we recorded many incidents involving detentions, especially using disproportionate force by security agencies. Which in some instances led to loss of life and serious injuries. I'd like to add to this discussion to say that as we are talking about unlawful detentions, there are so many other continuing violations and multiple violations of human rights that occur as a follow-on from these unlawful detentions. The violation of the 48-hour rule, as we know it in our Constitution, Article 23. In our Hakuna Mchezo report, we found this to be the most abused provision of the Constitution by the police and other security agencies. We also talk about the right to a fair hearing. How many times have we had people in Chikaya that have never been brought to court 6 months upon arrest? The right to an order of habeas corpus. Whenever I hear this word, I remember my lectures in constitutional law by the indefatigable habeas corpus. Freedom from torture, cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment and punishment. In Hakuna Mchezo report, we noted that there were no deliberate efforts by those responsible for arrest, detention, and production of suspects in court to inform them of their rights. Some did not know the charges until they appeared in the courts. A drone comes next to you and they tell you get in. So people had started fearing that into this, the drone, this notorious band with no number plates, and that took people to unknown places. We also talk about the violation concerning enforced disappearances. And especially the period leading to and after the 2021 general elections, this was characterized by a wave of cases of enforced disappearances and people getting arrested by security agencies and being taken to unknown detention places. So there is a continuum of violations that begins with this unlawful detention that goes on and on and on. And it is as if we no longer have a constitution that matters. The right to liberty and security of the person. The right not to be arbitrarily detained. The right for fair trial. The right to life, freedom from torture. All of these. When I get to the issue of torture, it was something that was really serious in our 2019 report. We listed 81 news items on torture that were published in the local dailies between 2016 to 2018. Suspects, as a general pattern, are kept incommunicado, don't know where they are, they're not able to talk to them, they're not able to access their lawyers, they are kept in ungazetted places, and they are subjected to torture. And the torture techniques are well designed and executed by special units within the security agency. We documented more than 70 techniques, methods of torture, physical, psychological, including the use of snakes. In our 2019 report, we state that acts of torture were condoned by the highest officers that are supposed to condemn them. They appear to be institutionalized and well planned and thought out and carried out at specific places, given the level of organization and the unit within which they were performed. They also used specific tools and methods of humiliating the victims, flattening out nails and things like that. We also noted that across all these cases, of torture that were meted out of Ugandans. It also included children. Honorable Winnie has mentioned the whole concept about disregard for the rule of law. You know, most of the violations that I've mentioned, including unlawful detentions, result as from the disregard of the rule of law through heavy-handedness, use of excessive and lethal force, and the failure and impunity to respect people's rights by security agencies. I'd like to finish by emphasizing this growing syndrome, the strong man syndrome. Strong man syndrome. There is an emerging trend of personalities with power issuing directives that are in contravention of the Constitution. Strong men that posture themselves as being more powerful than the law, who are loyal to superiors giving orders from above, even when those orders are in direct conflict with the law. And I also learned from Professor Busingye, actually, Dr. Busingye this afternoon, that these persons, these strong men, also not only in the political field, even in the family matters. Someone says that they still want to be married to you, and the other says I don't want to be married to you. And the person uses the law, and they unlawfully detain another. So these strong men who are able to use the system to their own interests. As we talk about accountability, where is the role of the different actors? On March the 4th of 2021, the Speaker of Parliament tasked the Minister of Internal Affairs to table a list of all missing persons in the country. And this was done. It was compared to a list that was submitted by the National Unity Platform President, who gave a list of 680 names. Out of the 680, only 71 appeared on the government list that the minister gave. I know that the Uganda Human Rights Commission has received and conducted investigations into some of these complaints. I know that the UN independent human rights expert on the working group on enforced and involuntary disappearances has condemned. I think things are happening. We have the laws. We can't say that we don't have the laws, but we need to do more. But of course, for me, there are more questions than answers. There's a song, I'm not very good with the song, the singers and whatever, but it says, what shall we do? What shall we do? Where shall we go? Dr. Busingye mentioned that we are all under this sky, 50 million people, unlawfully detained. What can we do? Professor Kakumba, we commit as the Human Rights and Peace Center and the School of Law to continue to document and provide empirical evidence and share it with the duty bearers and to engage with them. That is why we invite not only civil society and people that don't government, but also on the government side. And we also commit to keep asking more questions. Thank you very much, and I will stop here.
Thank you so much, Zahara. Powerful remarks. Strong man syndrome. I think we also have the strong son syndrome. Dark clouds that gather over the horizon. Maybe we should be more worried about a strong son than a strong man. But I want to finally, by no means least, invite Mr. Kenneth Roth. I've known Mr. Kenneth Roth for probably 3 decades now, thereabouts. He's the face of the human rights movement, both in the United States but internationally. Yeah, I think he's been bigger than Human Rights Watch. But you're very welcome, Ken. And I noticed, I don't know those of you who, I get on Twitter occasionally, you can see my advanced age, therefore. And I don't use the social media thing too much. But this morning, I was walking by the streets. It said, Ken is in town. He's in Uganda with the strong man. So Ken might have something to say about that visit, but more importantly, he's going to tell us about this document, I Only Need Justice, which is the most recent account of the situation of unlawful detention in Uganda. And I think the point that is really emphasized here is where is the accountability? So Ken, please.
Well, it's a complete pleasure and an honor for me to be invited to what really is the world-renowned Makerere University. And I want to express in particular my appreciation to our co-sponsors and partners, to HURIPEC, which is just a spirit of it, healthy management, and to the School of Law, for being such important partners with us in documenting and trying to conduct the serious human rights problems in this country. And so it is a real honor for me to join with them and to speak to you today. I gotta say, I'm a bit overwhelmed by the large number of people here who were willing to risk unlawful detention to discuss unlawful detention. I'll hope the best. So I'm going to we're going to talk about this report, which my colleague Onyango is sitting in some place. Anyway, my colleague who is the principal author of this report and who has been the Human Rights Watch researcher on Uganda for many years. I'm going to talk a bit about his findings, and then indeed I will talk about our encounter yesterday with the great man. So first, I don't need to tell you that there is a serious problem with unlawful detention. And this is a problem that, in recent years has adopted what you might say a purely criminal dimension and then a political dimension. The purely criminal dimension was illustrated by the relatively recent conduct of the ISO, Interim Committee Organization, and its practice under the notorious commander of identifying people who he thought were vulnerable to extortion. And so people who really done nothing other than to be identified by the ISO were unlawfully picked up and basically, disappeared into the so-called safe house. It's odd we use that term because this was anything but safe, where he or she was beaten, tortured, could be raped, really put through hell. And then the family was called. And the family was told, if you want your loved one free, sell everything you own and hand the proceeds over. And this happened over and over and over. We actually interviewed some 50 survivors of this torture. It happened to hundreds of people. And this was an extortion, something. This wasn't politically motivated. It was a product of impunity. Congress picked that away with it. So we did. We made a lot of money. Now, I should say that, this particular criminal motivation was just one dimension of the problem. And we know that, particularly in the run-up to the recent elections and in the aftermath of the elections, there was a very intense political dimension to a very similar moment, where people would be swept up. When I say people, it could be members of the opposition, it could be their supporters, protesters, people who had the audacity to go to a political campaign during the electoral period. And they could be picked up. Again, put in these irregular detention centers, the so-called safe houses, and brutally mistreated, tortured, and some held for many, many months. Some people are still detained. And here the purpose was not so much financial as it was pure and simple political. Museveni clearly felt threatened by the opposition that he and his party faced in this last round of elections. And he and his supporters were determined to suppress that serious political challenge through ruthless, brutal repression. And we know sometimes people are shot, killed. Many people were unlawfully detained with very, very little consequence. The impunity with which this was done demonstrated the official character of the misconduct. And I have to say, this was done not simply by the ISO, and the ISO was running its criminal act. But this kind of unlawful detention was done by the police and by the UPDF. Now, I have been looking forward to today's symposium because I think we have a lot of evidence in this report about unlawful detention by the UPDF. And so I was looking forward to having the spokesperson show up and tell us either, you got it wrong, don't do this, or try to explain why somehow these unlawful detentions are not unlawful detentions. But the difficulty is that an empty chair can't answer questions. An empty chair can't offer any justification for the unlawful detention of the UPDF. An empty chair essentially says that I don't even have the courtesy of showing up to the symposium that I said I would show up to answer for my institution's misconduct. An empty chair says I am above the rules. And that's the problem. So unfortunately, we don't have the enough to try to justify what it is. But we did have the privilege of sitting down yesterday with the Brig guy. The Brig woman was next door, she was addressing me about and the Brig son was no emergency. But we did sit down with the president. And he was generous with his time, when we were down to our time waiting for him. But when he did finally sit down with us, he gave us over an hour. And so we discussed all of this. And, I'll give you a sense of the conversation, because I think it's important to sort of show where his head is, at least what it pretends to be. And show a bit about, where we might be able to push to make some progress. Now, I mentioned to him as we opened up, and we have to talk, thinking these conversations, how do you keep them on a positive way? So I thought, okay, let's begin with the Human Rights Enforcement Act a few years ago. This was a good thing. We're all for human rights enforcement. So I said, we're glad to see this happen. Now let's talk about human rights enforcement. Let's not talk about the law, let's talk about the reality. And so we ran through to talk a bit about, how do you establish the rule of law? How do you address things like unlawful detention and beatings and torture and repression by security forces? And there are various ways of holding government accountable for the law. And we frankly ran through them in the course of the conversation. Now, one, the most obvious one, is prosecution. If you commit a serious crime, which clearly unlawful detaining somebody or being tortured is, you should be prosecuted. Now, we mentioned the case of Kaka to the ISO command. I think many of you know that Kaka is no longer the ISO command. And his so-called position is to be transferred to another cushy job in the police headquarters. That's it. Still on the parole. No imprisonment of any kind for him, let alone unlawful version. He's still a free man. What kind of signal does that send? We asked the president. You know, how do you say that you're against this? It's purported to be against the unlawful detention, against the torture. You know, what signal does that send? If you say you're against it, when somebody practices this in a notorious case, they got attention by the parliament and attention by everybody, then he gets a slap on the wrist and transfer over the police headquarters. It sends a signal that, we'll talk a good game from the sit down with Human Rights Watch, but the reality should be doing with you. So he said, oh, well, yes, I understand we should prosecute. So, we will hold them to this. Not that the president should be deciding whether we prosecute it or not, and that should be what an independent is. But, if the president is standing in the way of prosecuting senior officials who oversee rampant torture, the problem does start at the top. And so he said he would pursue prosecution, and he said he would pay attention. That's it. Now, we then went on to talk about other kinds of accountability. Because, yes, prosecution is an important thing, but how do you get prosecution in a country where prosecution is so rare? You need public pressure. And where does that public pressure come from? Well, it comes from people who are able to document what the problem is, review it to all of us, and then all of us will be able to speak about it and push for it. So we talked about those other dimensions of accountability. And one we began with journalists, because I think you're all aware of the practice of journalists, particularly television analysts, who may show up at a public protest where the police are about to break up the protest. And the police arrest them or beat them for doing their job. Now that is the antithesis of the accountability we need to fight unlawful detention or other misconduct by security forces. Having a journalist at the scene of the crime is one of the best ways of ensuring that the crime either doesn't happen or that the crime is pursued in court of law. And so the president said, yes, actually I can see that. And I'm willing to speak up about the rights of journalists to do their jobs. I'm going to reinforce legal freedom. And we again said, well, we're glad to hear that. You're telling that us, we'd like to see you say that publicly. And then make sure that the security forces live up to it. We need you to speak to the security forces too. So she said he would do that. We then got into the issue of human rights defenders, who, in this sense, are really just like specialized journalists. Their job is to record the human rights violations of the government and to try to change them. And out here, somebody jumped into, these are just core agents. And didn't you know these independents? We're trying to hold their government to account, hold the government to the rights enshrined in the Constitution, in the law, in the international treaties. They kind of went off on this riff about, oh, this is just foreign government changes. And we had a bit of a discussion about how, under the NGO law, the government is really essentially persecuting civil society organizations, giving all kinds of bureaucratic groups for obstacles that lead to their suspension or their shutting down, rather than facilitating civil society as an essential way of holding government. And he, wasn't as agreeable here. He kept coming back to the foreign agents. And finally, we talked about the role of the public, because Obviously, when you have journalists and you have human rights defenders that are informing us, the power of that message really comes down to you, all of us, and to the public. That takes that information and acts on it and says, I want a government that stands up for my rights. But and he said, he kind of sees that. But then, we started talking about particular examples. So the right of public protest. Suddenly he said, oh, but they trample on markets and they destroy goods. And we made a case to them, yes, that may happen sometimes, and that can be a problem, but it doesn't need to shut down every single protest. But this is sort of, the bit of stalemate in front of you. It's clear that this isn't happening. Particularly or and we concluded by talking a bit about Facebook and more generally social media and engagement. He said, oh, well, I shut down Facebook because they closed all the pro-government accounts. And we explained to them that that's not how Facebook operates. Facebook is closing down the troll accounts. You have somebody who creates 50 fake accounts, yes, that violates the security standards of Facebook, and those will be taken down. But Facebook is not in the business of censoring pro or anti-government positions. So he said, oh, well, I will look at that. Let's see. And we are, we'll again hold him to that because Facebook has been a very important vehicle for Ugandans to speak to each other, to report, what is happening and to organize to hold the government to account. So this gives you a sense of just, how this conversation went. It was at times contentious, it was overall. He gave us some responses that we were looking for, are the other kind. But these are his words. And our job now is to follow up on those words, turning into not just commitments, but action. Because given the structure of government in this country, the word of the president matters. And if he is going to countenance the kind of unlawful detentions and the torture people that go with them, they need to do yes, which is largely not, say the right things to the international community and say money to stop them. But if he's genuinely worried about his legacy, he wants to know as the father of Russia, and you can start to worry about these things. And this is a good moment for him to not simply say the right things to human rights, but to say the right things to the security forces, to hold particularly security force commanders responsible for atrocities under their rule, and to begin to leave a legacy, not simply of but rather of genuine lives, of free elections, of free speech, of free media, of the people to organize, like we are today, and push their government to the constitution. So thank you very much for your visit on Unlawful Detention and joining us, and I look forward to our session.
Thank you very much for a good summary of the report as well as of the meeting. I think that's very important. I think I get from that 4 I's. First I is unity, and the unity that has manifested itself through the illegal detentions. The second I is institutions and the collapse of these institutions. I mean, for example, about Packer, so UPDF, and the like. The third I is about information. We must continuously document these things because no man or woman lives forever. And everybody will have their day of account. Of course, I'm not very religious. And I don't believe in the aftermath. Or is it the aftermath or the afterlife, where the great reckoning is supposed to happen? So I believe that we must get the accounting here and now. And that leads to the fourth I, the I of implementation, which leads to an S, the struggle. And I'm glad to see numerous struggles here. Numerous graduates of illegal detention. Numerous people who have put pressure on this government to at least retain a facade of legality, even when they don't. We know that they're telling us lies. And I think that it's important for us to keep having these kinds of gatherings in order to maintain that pressure so that they know that there will be some people who will not be there. So thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you very much to our presenter, BK. I'm getting a protocol flag here. It's a protocol must be observed. I don't do protocol. Jackson, come and do protocol for exactly 1.5 minutes. That's all we're allowed.
Thank you very much, Prof, and everyone who is here, ladies and gentlemen, and others. In just 1 minute, allow me to recognize a few people that we have in the house. I did recognize many others earlier. Let me recognize the ambassador for the German embassy, who is right here. You're welcome, sir. We also have a representative of the Office of the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights. You're welcome. I recognize the Embassy of Sweden, who is represented here. I also would like to recognize the Director of Uganda Human Rights Commission, who is here. You're welcome. We also have representatives from various civil society platforms and institutions. We have the ICTJ, which is represented here by two great, marvelous individuals, Jesse, welcome, and Daniela. The Embassy of Denmark is represented here. You're welcome, Mohammed. We also have the IRCU, who is represented here. You're welcome, madam. Chapter 4 is represented here. Many of you saw a tweet that says our offices are open. So they are represented here. The Foundation for Human Rights Initiative is also represented here. The Center for Basic Research is also represented here. Thank you. This is also represented here. You're welcome. HURIPEC is also represented here. You're welcome. Right over there. And finally, we also have the Muslim Center for Justice and Law is also represented here. The Human Rights Center, Uganda is represented here. There's also the Uganda Muslim Lawyers Association, which is represented here. Welcome, sir. And people from various political divides. The FDC is represented here by different people, NRM, all different political parties are here. ONET is represented here. And finally, we also have the office of the DPP, which is represented here. And finally, we have an audience online that is represented here, and we are streaming this event live. You're very much welcome and continue following. Thank you very much.
Okay, we've begun with the protocol. Yeah, now you can disappear. Sorry. So there are two persons, particularly recent graduates of Unlawful Detention, who I wanted to point out. Both of them also happen to be our graduates, and both of them are here in the audience. Mr. Charles Brig, where is he? Journalist. Charles, how are you? Welcome. And Joyce. Was it last week that's what you said? Yeah, so very happy to be here. So, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do now is we're opening up the discussion. Can I ask our honorable keynote speaker, PK, to come down, please join us? And if Jackson, can you got it? Okay, good. So we'll start here with the lady here, and then we'll go up this side, and then we'll move to the left. So please introduce yourself, both name and organization, if possible. And if you're affiliated, if you're a student, also let us know that.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. My name is Zahara Nampewo. I work with Chapter 4. And mine is really a contribution or a comment. And I'd like to start from when I was 8 years old, when Dr. Kiiza said, he came under the city on Unyango, if you remember quite well. And I come from a district where he comes from. So the military are very poor. I interacted with the very poor people that time. They would make sure that we would sleep in our homes, especially if we knew that you sort of had a connection. So then we started sleeping at a neighbor's home because we were afraid of sleeping in our own homes. That was a form of detention. Fast forward in the law school, in the upper room, Professor Onyango teaches about constitutionalism and preamble that says recording our history. And recording this history of violence, I faced violence at 8 years old. So there was no difference. I couldn't tell the difference of what happened in the body which was in there, but what I knew about this government was that it is a military kind of thing. There is no free and democratic society. So for us to think that we can have, we can have this conversation, but for me, what I want to say that the barriers to the accountability for unlawful detention in this country is for us to recognize that we are under a junta or a military leadership. And in that way, the rules or whatever happens down comes from the top. That will go to court to apply for bail, and the magistrate will be afraid to grant bail because they're waiting for a person X first. For orders from above, the strongman syndrome that one of the speakers talked about. Yeah, so I thought that I would make that contribution about the militarization of the institutions in this country.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator. Please keep it as short and succinct.
Thank you very much. My name is Felix Kulayigye, and my question this time is to draw the attention. I think one aspect of accountability, which I believe you are continuously defending, and that's the international community. Because we are, and I'm glad various international representatives. Now we have talked about how citizens can hold the government to account, especially with unlawful detentions. But we have not talked about how the international community is having different interests and priorities, and it is not taking the mantle to lead us into holding this government to account. When you have issues of unlawful detentions, this international community always leaves it to the citizens. So my question is, can we enable this international community to wake up and take the stand?
Thank you very much, Bill. Go back to the back. Yes.
I'm a student here. Well, my submission is about the rule of law, as several panelists have said it. This evidence, professional evidence is useful. I think, well, it's delicious, but I would say it's a person, a country like this. when we talk about rule of law, we all know that we are the people who make the laws. These articles are becoming about just a matter of representative democracy in our country. We do make these laws. So when we talk about laws, there will always be a legal section that protects these injustices. Already that's a phrase that I don't respect the law, but I respect justice. But the law can be used to create chaos, but justice always brings that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. We'll cross over back there, the lady over there, right in the corner, left corner. Please.
Thank you, the moderator. My name is Sylvie Namwase. I'm actually a postdoctorate researcher at HURIPEC. I appreciate all the panelists for today's discussion. I'm interested in hearing from each of the panelists more about resilience approaches, because there's been quite a bit of lamentation, rightly so, but I think as Ugandans we need to also start thinking in terms of response or resilience. So each of the panelists, what are your thoughts on resilience mechanisms? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvie. Can you come down here, gentleman over there? The bow tie, so the mask, and then the gentleman in the cap.
Thank you so much, sir. My name is Joaquin Kamade, a student of Dr. Zahara Nampewo. Of the National Unity Platform. I'm here to talk about migrant students who are being arrested and unlawfully in quotes detained. It's unfortunate that Professor Kakuma is not here, but I would like anyone in the administration of the university to be able to give attention to guiding young people to be able to expose themselves politically without being subdued to the threats of unlawful detention. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Do you have specific cases that we can raise?
There are suspensions, there are threats, and yes, there are cases that we shall be able to talk about in private.
Right.
Recognize
Okay. So gentleman in the black cap, and then one more, and then we'll hear from the panelists.
Thank you so much. Before I go to the specifics and the subject matter, Prof, I would kindly request that maybe we need to look at where all this comes from. We must,
Who are you, sir?
my name is Joseph Martin. We must look so much at where all this comes from. We must look at the philosophical foundations of what human rights are. We must look at the raw data that was provided even before Christ, even before the birth of Muhammad. It can give us a clear understanding of what we're talking about. Honestly, today, if you look at what all this emanates from, is suppression of different opinions. 5 centuries back, we've had, I think, even when we had more protected society, John Newton said, you give me the liberty to utter, to argue free.
Now, the measure of the kind judges, so it's up to us.
Thank you. We need that. Ken?
Let me address both the international law and the resilience question. If you look at the international community, I think the first thing they do when they think about Uganda is they say, oh, this is an tough neighborhood. And if you look at the countries around it, there are many troublesome countries. Somalia's been in war forever. Ethiopia is in the process of horrible degeneration. Sudan has a military coup. South Sudan is a failed state. DRC is, resuming Syria's conflict in the east. Rwanda is a horrible dictatorship. It's not a great neighborhood. And so I think people say, oh, well, we said that these people with on. But I think we know that, the strong man philosophy of stability is short-sighted. Even strong men don't live forever. And having a strong son is not the answer. So, even if you want to ignore the aspirations of the Ugandan people, which you shouldn't ignore, the international community has been very short-sighted in many regards. But I want to make a broader point about the international community because, right now people are very focused on Ukraine. And, Putin's invasion of Ukraine is horrible. It's had consequences around the world with skyrocketing food prices, fuel prices. But the Ukraine conflict is about more than just the territorial integrity of the state. It really is also part of a global contest between autocracy and democracy. And, Putin's invasion shows what an autocrat can do when they're not answerable to the people, just decide for themselves. If the international community is really going to engage in that global conflict between autocracy and democracy, it needs to do it in a way that upholds democratic principles. And that means when people so clearly express their desires for democracy, as the Ugandan people have done, and as the Sudanese people have done, as people in Hong Kong, and Thailand, Myanmar, etc. have, by taking to the streets, by showing what they stand for, they need to be supported. And if they're not supported, it suggests a hypocrisy, which in the end will lead to the loss of Western nations in this challenge for autocrats. So that's why every nation matters, and you can't create strong man exceptions for the quest for democracy. And one final word on resilience. I think the key to resilience is togetherness. When we're alone, we tend to lose our resilience. When we're isolated, it's hard to stay resilient. But when we have each other, when we're acting together, we're much more resilient. And the autocrats of the world know that, because that's why they crack down on our opportunities to speak to each other. That's why they try to prevent people rallying in the streets. That's why they try to silence social media. That's why they try to dissolve civil society organizations. Because they know that when people are together, they're more resilient, and that makes for a more powerful pro-democracy movement. So I think we have to keep that in mind. Our resilience comes from our togetherness, and we need to combat the government's efforts to undermine that togetherness.
Thank you very much, Ken. Okay. Thank you very much. About the resilience question, I once asked my mother and my father, I said, during the Indian period, I hear others went to exile and fought. I said, what did you do? From 71 to 79. And she said, my son, you survived. And I thought it was an honest answer. I thought it was a satisfactory answer. And therefore, I agree that survival itself is resilience. In terms of the international community, there was a symposium about 10 or 12 years ago on that very question. Starting on the question really, what that community is and whether it's in fact inside the community. If that if I rather talk about a community of shared values, the community that understands itself to be in fact in the community, as opposed to say, down or America first. Now, I read during terms of biography and I looked for Africa in there and I found about very few references. These are some references to Olaro Tunu and the Iran and Oxford said this gentleman thing like that. But apart from that, the description of Africa was in very much the terms of the scar on the conscience of mankind. This place that needs space in your face. Trump also came to us in our face, cheap whole countries. I'm not too sure. I personally have, in fact, even a bit of a healthy fear of the international community. So, maybe a little bit of that. I don't think the government is something like that. Okay, thank you very much, DJ. Maybe something on this resilience question and the nature of Ugandans. I personally believe, I don't know if it's a mental health specialist in this house, but I think Uganda is suffering from collective post-traumatic stress disorder. And when it manifests itself, there'll be more trouble. But anyway, let's hear from some of the institutions. I think the PDP is here, the Ugandan Society is here. When you jump in the PDP. So let's see, we've got this side and then we'll come back. So very quickly, thank you very much. Introduce yourself and your organization.
Thank you. My name is Zahara Nampewo. I work in the office of the PDP. I hope I'm not short, but I want to be the other side of the coin. We are the enforcer, and I'm glad to be here. I'm not the enforcer for rape. You see, people disappeared in 2019. Yes. I wanted to say that unfortunately, we actually take out to the law society, those people who help the people who disappear. The police do the next one. And this noise, I'm here, you can have that. Please, you bring it forth, because if I believe you're documenting, then let's have a documented balance, you know. Yeah, let's keep the documenting, at least you have to see that we try and this is what we do. My last point. At least I believe we all heard about the Human Rights Enforcement Act and the PTA, yeah, which make people actually personally responsible for the crimes that they are committing. We are all lawyers, they are upcoming, they are doctors in Zambia. Please test it. I know you have kind of done this, but please, if the High Court says if you are documenting, at least it's not the same cases that can be committed.
Right, my name is Zahara Nampewo, and the Vice President of the Unlawful Society. Just to pick up from the legal principle, we have to set the Human Rights Enforcement Act, and I can certainly take a bit of a difficulty getting from the magistrate court and going on. But I'll just go directly to my points. One, I wanted to ask, there are many institutions we have spoken about that are what I'll call under capture, but there are also institutions that are supposed to be watching these institutions. In terms of accountability, why don't we now start to hold those watchdogs accountable? Because it's their mandate to watch over institutions. I think it's also time we hear them accountable. Secondly, the idea, we all have individual haphazard approach to how we are dealing with the idea of human rights. It's time that we sat down and said, let's have a synchronized approach. Can we come up with a strategic plan? Can we come up with something? And I think that the School of Law is the bedrock for us to call every organization. Most of us started here. Isn't it time that you called all of us people and said, let's have a synchronized approach and what would it look like? Lastly, the rule of law is always subject to those who rule the law. Isn't it important for us to start to check the election process more than ever before?
Thank you very much. My name is Christine Oloka, the Deputy Secretary General of the Democratic Party. And I would like to I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us. I bring the approaches of our President General and Secretary General. And I really appreciate the topic that is under discussion today. Post 2021 elections, we had an opportunity under IPOD, the Interparty Organization for Dialogue, to actually talk about the unlawful detention as the actors in the political space. We took up this matter and had a discussion with the strongman under the auspices of IPOD. We got a release of about 56 members of the party. And that is why, as DP, we believe in dialogue as a solution. I know I have been in this country, I have never left. My father was a victim of unlawful detention during second Obote regime. But one of the things that I realize is that we have a long-standing, I think we have a vicious cycle of abuse of state power that goes back right from colonial days. And it comes to a failure to appreciate how to wield state power. So if the people that come into state, what they learned from the previous governments is what they practice. So I don't know how we are going to get out of this, but I think as Ugandans, we have always called as a political party for having a political dialogue that addresses the political questions and therefore accountability for human rights abuses. Just one more point, please. Also, the weakening of the pillars of democracy in this country is a very, very critical thing, and I think the weakening of especially political parties is something that, you know, if politicians can speak to fellow politicians, I think we'll be able to bring about it.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to cross over back.
Thank you so much.
We'll take. Yes.
Thank you so much, Prof. And you're for the invitation. Usually I'm on the other side, moderating, they have the opportunity. And with the Vice President, I'll introduce myself as Arthur. I'm sorry for the member of the Rule of Law and Interim Committee of the ULS. We talk about the strongman syndrome, fostering more powerful than the law. It saddens to say that the strongman syndrome has not spared this year. Makerere University. And when we hear a student say, I can only disclose details of who is under detention in private, it should be an eye-opener to us as HURIPEC, as the School of Law, to ask ourselves, how do we then come to address, before we go out to document those violations out there, can we document, engage, and ask questions about the detentions here? Thank you, Brig, for that definition of the detention. 50 million Ugandans on this scale are under detention. Thank you.
My name is Kenneth Roth. Just an addition to what you say. This is School of Law, where everyone actually expects law to be private, or wants to be human rights to be privately protected. But as we speak, there are over 300 students who are undergoing suspension under an unfair committee, and no one even has said anything about it.
And then we'll leave Charles next week.
Thank you so much, Prof. It's an honor to be back to Makerere and to speak before the great professors who taught me. Of course, coming from the National Unity Platform as the Secretary General, People Power, for the members here, I really am grateful to the people who invested a lot of time to come up with this report, because it's extremely important. NUP documented about 3,000 people who were detained during elections. And after that, there are more. Even as, yesterday and the other day, there are people who came to our office to say they have just been released and they're not on our list. And that is what we continuously see, that so many people were detained illegally. And many of them have spent over a year under detention. Every once in a while, I receive random calls from people who have my number from Chitaya. Someone says, oh, I was a supporter, I was arrested in November 2020, and now I'm still at Chitaya. No one is following up my case. So you can imagine the kind of challenge. This issue is complicated by the military trials. The military trials, and I'm glad Dr. Nagwayo is here, who's an expert in this area, that most of our supporters ended up before military courts. These are civilians. Just arrest a young man
or young ladies for that matter, take them to a safe house, force them to put on a military uniform, take their picture, they end up before General Wood. And now General Wood's term has elapsed, so they are stuck in prisons. They are waiting for General Museveni to appoint a chair of that court. The other challenging issue is the Sewanyana and Segiri, honorable members of parliament, situation, and the ruling which was given by the court yesterday. And I was just bothered by it, yes, as a Supreme Court president about that, but I thought that that decision is extremely unfair, and I hope that the legal scholars will take it up. You know, the court suggesting that once the High Court has denied you bail, you have no opportunity to appeal against that decision. It's very, very problematic in the context of Uganda. I want to state it on record that we filed several cases before the Human Rights Commission, before the Human Rights Committee of Parliament, the Judicial Service Commission complaining against some of the judicial officials. Nothing has come out of all those processes. Okay. Finally, Prof, for me, I've been asked about Makerere. Our students, our candidates, 3 of them, were suspended this very week. Both are Edward Brig, Calvin Wesigwa, Kenneth Roth, who are all standing under the AUP ticket in this university for being president, were suspended allegedly for holding an unlawful assembly, and right now they cannot therefore be nominated. So I think this conversation needs to begin here. Finally, very, very finally, Prof. I think for me the solution is a political one. And my question before all the panelists is, why have the academicians, the intelligentsia, the professionals not come out to challenge the dictatorship that we have in this country?
And then we'll have some of the institutional responses for that. Human Rights Commission and some of the others, yes.
Thank you so much for the result. My name is Charles Kulayigye. I'm a senior writer with the administration writer of the Museum. So I've done a work for New Vision right from the law school here. I did the New Vision where I've gone through the ranks too. So in 2018, February 2018, I was kidnapped from office because of the story I've written about. So of course in the process I lost my eye. First of all, I was tortured, severely I lost this left eye. But one thing I learned was that when I was in detention, maybe to our colleagues here from North and the colleagues from DPP, I found so many people. I was taken to a safe house in Chengera, which was being operated by Kaka. So I found people who had been in that safe house for some of them for even 2 years, who are detained but people didn't know where they are. Some of them actually not knew where they were, but they were in the safe house. So I made a number of cases who were there. And of course, I really went through a lot for those 6 days when I was there. There's a lot of torture. Some of them can't describe what we went through. But I came out of hospital. My eye is off, I can't see, I use one eye. So one thing that I know is that of course, when I came back, I've got running stories to New Vision, but right now we write stories very guardedly. We can't write the stories we used to write simply because there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of intimidation. And I also, by virtue of writing security-related stories, I happen to put some of these safe houses. There are so many of them. There are so many people who are hanging there who have gone missing, but they are not up in those safe houses. Even around one day, there are houses all over these places. So the challenge we have is the agency is supposed to come out and check on this and not doing their work right. So my appeal is to you guys who are here, continue putting the pressure. I was only lucky that when I was there, a few members of parliament have never heard about kept on putting pressure. But I can tell you, torture is real, or being tortured is a lot of intimidation. Thank you.
Can you get the institutional responses? I think they were from you and the Human Rights Commission.
Thank you very much. My name is Winnie Kiiza. I am director in the Uganda Human Rights Commission. And a number of issues were raised regarding institutional accountability. Regarding institutions that perform or do not perform. And during discussions such as this, it is a given that human rights will come up.
it's a given that human rights will be questioned. Are we doing enough? Have we done enough? But I'll first go to answer Honorable Winnie Kiiza, where you say the commission is under state capture, and that before we write our reports, we have someone. I have no, sorry? Okay. I am lucky. It's really fortunate that I write the report myself, Priscilla and my team. And we do the research throughout the year. We document, we profile. And never at any one time have I gone with someone to state house, have I been questioned. I put all these things, and sometimes when my bosses are alarmed, but they accept because I am a professional and I do it that way. So I just wanted to correct that. You'd be surprised at the leverage we have. Unfortunately, you think about things and then you start believing them, and it goes around what goes around. And before you know it, everyone is believing it, but it's not the truth. I'm not so sure about the state capture, and I hate being on the defensive. It does not really feel right, but I have to do it over and over again. And I hope I see these young people and I'm like, very soon, they'll be in my shoes, doing exactly what I'm doing, spending sleepless nights, running from one facility to another, going to state houses that he has talked about, or many that you don't know. So when you're talking about torture, I don't think that there is anyone in this room who has seen and glared at the ugly faces of torture, who has dealt directly with victims, who are stinking, who are rotting. And many times, when you say someone was battered and beaten and injured, you don't go into the psychological and the other effects. You really can't go into that. So when you say they are not working, you'll be surprised at how many people appreciate what we're doing. You'll be surprised at how many people rescue it. But I'm not going to that. Let me just say something about what we have done with regard to the legislation. I was among the four lawyers who drafted the PTA, Nicholas Opio, myself, Roger Karagoijo, and someone from Ministry. And when we were drafting the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act, we were very passionate because I used to read over 50 files of cases against torture in a day. And every time you're reading, nails blacked out, sticks blacked out, the scrotum cut off, and all these things. So when we were drafting this law, I think in the world, there are only 3 countries, so you would consider the passion that is in there. So the commission is not really a toothless law. It is not doing its job. There are wonderful men and women who are doing a commendable job in this country. We also participated a lot in the Human Rights Enforcement Act. We pushed for it, and we're glad that it's out there. But what I'm finally saying, when we ask for an evaluation and an assessment of the Human Rights Commission, the Human Rights Commission cannot do this work alone. We can't. It's just lawyers like me and you. We can't. I don't have a gun. I don't have a place of detention. I can only draft the laws, I draft the reports, and receive complaints and investigate them and give you 5 million or 20 million. But we need institutions in place where we as a country stick together, where institutions work together. That is when we shall see change. You cannot expect one institution to change the status quo. We all need each other and we need to work together to change the status quo.
Thank you very much. Can I get direction from the director? Sorry, at 5 o'clock. Sorry, so 5 o'clock. So we have very quick responses and then we'll come to final. Yeah. And finally, we'll hear from Brig.
I'm Carol from the just answered Uganda. And I want to say that we just have seen a curve of violence during elections. In 2016, religious leaders talked to the president because this is when they come. People think they don't talk, but there are conversations about them. And they say that there's a need to have a procedure, but we need to talk about these issues because there are 8 fault lines ever since this country was 60 years down the road. Those issues always around, and we are doing it. And so in December 18, 2018, the president signed And we thought things are going to be well, we put in place a coordination committee. And when the elections, you know, when they pass those amendments, that's where it stops. And so this time on a serious note, whereas Professor will need prayers because this country belongs to us. And therefore, no one should be above the other, but God should be above everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. So can we have two more and from this side? You can see class. Yeah, it's going to close for us. Yeah. Okay, one here, and then we can speak one there.
Thank you very much, Prof. I came here and the producer to constitutional law. I never wanted to study this constitution. What we did at the date of the 18th, and we had started to tell us who you are. Quite a minute, I'm a student here. And I remember you cancelled that I should study the constitution. Because you had told us about the basic structure of the it is organized in my head. And when I read the preamble, recording our history, which has been characterized by political instability, it was not about power. So finally, whether you talk about human rights or community rights, the problem here is a civilization of politics and military and commercialized politics. Because the moment you stop, people say you want to pick us from eating. And others will say, get out, we also eat, you have eaten a lot. So you find that the problem here, if we want to do anything to do with human rights, we must be sensitize the politics in Africa. It's sensitize. We are under a cynicistic capital. People say state. No, they are not states here. They are not states here. We have a cynicistic holding other nations at ransom. A cynic military, a cynic politics, and across Africa. So finally, I want to tell you, we must first, and I think we also need to blame those people, the white two came and colonized that year. I got an opportunity to metamorphose into strong states. By the time 70 years we were captured by the European hegemony for 7 years. We were left with systems up, but without being down. We must take that. And I'm happy the Uganda society talked about elections. All right. I protested. I talked that the most person and one. What are you talking about?
My name is Mine is sort of is a suggestion, sort of like a way forward. And I think it's from something I heard from Dr. Busingye. It was a keynote address he delivered at HURIPEC. And this is it was a response that he gave to Spokesperson because Dr. Kabul was clearly pointing out the historical perspective of the NRA and was showing evidence of certain human rights violations that have come at certain points in the community. And of course, was critiquing him, saying, no, you're providing wrong evidence. And the response that Dr. Kabul gave was that if there's anything that you can ask me about, is that because in terms of constitutionality, there's nothing that I can keep that I noticed such about, because he had pointed out from the book militarism and post-colonial states in Africa.
So you are giving empirical evidence. So what is my suggestion?
Yeah.
As people here who have been afforded the privilege, because many youth in this country don't have the privilege to access these opportunities. Like, I mean, we're sitting here with, in the room with the director of the Human Rights Watch. How are you equipping yourself in terms of knowledge, in terms of research, to contribute towards challenging the status quo? And this is in terms of the specific, are you participating in the rule of law activities? Are you in the debate society? Are you writing papers on the ideas that are coming forward? Because when you are challenged by these people, because they like you asked, they have told you, bring the evidence of the Human Rights Enforcement Act. So when you're challenged, you will have the evidence, you have the experience, and you have the knowledge, and will be better equipped to liberate.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I'm very sorry that as moderator, I was studying dictator in a discussion on the rule of law and human rights. But if we don't close this discussion, never. And all I can suggest is that HURIPEC needs to have a part two. Because I think these issues, and actually for the School of Law for some time, we haven't had these kinds of debates. And I think they're really important. So I throw the ball back to Zahara. Now what we're going to do, we'll hear from BK and from Winnie. And then we'll hear from Ken and from Zahara finally. And then last, but by no means least, because there are questions about internal democracy. And we can't pretend, like somebody said, dictatorship begins in the family. We put dictators in our families. We dictate over our spouses, we dictate over our children. Let us not dictate over our students. So you get a response, because I think it's important that these questions are raised in a context where we're talking about freedom of expression. And so we'll finally hear from the principal of the School of Law in response to those issues, but also to close the symposium. So thank you very much. So PK, please, you can respond to any of the issues that are raised, that have been raised by the panel, the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, and thank you everyone for that very lively discussion. I think I just answer David Lewis' question about where the academics are in the struggle. Someone has mentioned Scotland's being cut off. I'll be honest, I like to mine. So, but as I do this space, if one is leading research area, I think it's better than one leads it well. And that's my opinion. I'm a teacher. I think it's important that I try to teach well, put some inside, put some right, and I think I agree with what you said. I said I have that use for that. Look at that. You know, it's good.
Yes, would like to thank you. You have been a very good audience. You provided solutions. You have equally enriched us with your suggestions. And I want to say let's continue with the discussion.
Thank you very much. Ken and then Zahara.
Just a quick word. I wanted to recount another aspect of my conversation yesterday with the president, which echoes an argument that you all know very well. He says, don't tell me about human rights. There was slavery, there was colonialism. I got rid of the enemy. Don't tell me about human rights. And that's a dangerous argument. Because what it says is, you know, I'm omnipotent. I know I'm best. What I call human rights is proper. And when a president says that, it's a recipe for autocracy. It's a recipe for repression. So I would be super suspicious whenever somebody starts talking about colonialism or slavery as an excuse for today's human rights violations. Those practices were horrible. But what happens today is a completely separate matter. And if a president has to fall back on citing slavery or colonialism, it's because he can't justify his human rights violations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for those interesting comments. I'll respond.
Or maybe Zahara, because I see Mr. Protocol not sitting easy in his chair. Let's give him 2 minutes to protocolize Maybe you can close and then.
Soon, in fact, half a minute. Thank you very much, Dr. Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. My apologies from the records desk. I think they were not getting details to me in time, so I apologize. I saw a member of parliament here, the honorable member of Brig. I would like you to wave, honorable welcome, Jimmy. Ochero, it's right over there. And if the other member of parliament, please shoot up your hand. I am not ignoring anyone. The vice president of ULS, you're welcome. The NGO forum is represented here, and NetPay, you're all welcome.
Thank you very much. Good, that was excellent. So Zahara, finally.
Thank you. Finally, three responses. One is on the watchdogs. Should we be watching the watchdogs? These are many. For example, the NGOs should be watching the other side, the religious leaders, the academia. Religious leaders, I'll read back to you if you know what is happening. Are they watching enough? NGOs, I think we are seeing the narrowing civic space within which they can operate. So they can also only do so much. Of course, they need to find a way